Tate Taylor walked into the World U20 Championships as just one more name buried on a long start list. Nobody outside his own team was talking about him. 4 days later, he'd swept the 100 meters, then the 200 meters, then anchored a relay that tore up a world record that had stood for years. 3 races, 3 golds, and an ending that nobody inside that stadium saw coming when the week began. Stick around, because the way this actually started makes the finish even harder to believe. Race 1 was the 100 meters, and the pressure showed up before the gun even fired. Taylor's biggest rival all season, Jamaica's Gary Card, stood 1 lane over. Fans had circled this matchup for weeks, and both sprinters knew exactly what was on the line. Card got the better start, gaining a slight edge in the opening steps out of the blocks. Taylor caught him by the halfway mark and then pulled away hard in the final 10 meters. He crossed the line in 9.94 seconds, a personal best and his first gold of the meet. That time tied him for 5th on the all-time list of fastest U20 sprinters ever recorded. A list packed with some of the biggest names the sport has ever produced. Card took silver in 10.05. South Africa's Marco Ferrer grabbed bronze. Now here's where you should hit like and subscribe if you haven't already, because the next part of this story is where it stops being a good meet and turns into a historic one. 2 days later came the 200 meters, and Taylor blew the field apart from the gun. He powered through the turn and opened a gap nobody could close. He crossed in 19.83 seconds, a new championship record for the event. Teammate Blake Hamilton finished 2nd in 20.31. Card, his rival from the 100, never got close this time, finishing well back in the field. With that win, Taylor became the first American man in history to sweep both the 100 and 200 meters at a single World U20 Championships. Nobody from the United States had ever managed that double before him. Sit with how fast 19.83 actually is for an 18-year-old. Only 2 teenagers on the entire planet have ever run the 200 meters faster. Ariane Knighton ran 19.49 at 18, and Gout ran 19.67 at the same age. Taylor now sits right behind both of them on that short list, and he did it under championship pressure, not in some low-stakes early season race. 2 gold medals, 2 records tied to his name. For most athletes, that's the peak of an entire career. For Taylor, it was only the setup. It's worth putting Card's week in context too, because losing to Taylor twice doesn't mean he had a bad championship. A silver in the 100 and a bronze in the relay is a genuinely strong meet for any sprinter his age. The difference is that Taylor turned in 3 golds in the same window, which is what made the story about him instead of the rivalry everyone expected walking in. Think about what those 2 races actually demand from a sprinter's body. The 100 meters is pure acceleration, built almost entirely around reaction time and the first 30 meters out of the blocks. The 200 flips that formula completely. Runners have to hold top speed through a curve, manage the bend without losing form, and still have enough left for a strong final straight. Coaches spend entire careers trying to build athletes who can do both well. Taylor did both at a championship level within a 48-hour window, against a stacked international field that included his fiercest rival. The final day brought the men's 4x100 relay. Taylor lined up alongside Blake Hamilton, Dylan Mitchell, and Kyler Brown, running anchor, which meant he'd take the baton last and carry the team home. Every exchange landed clean, no fumbles, no wasted motion. By the time the baton reached Taylor's hand, Team USA already held the lead, and he turned that lead into a runaway finish. The team crossed in 38.16 seconds, shattering the previous World U20 record of 38.51, a mark South Africa had held since winning gold in Nairobi back in 2021. Taylor's team didn't just edge past that record, they cut over 1/3 of a second off it, and in a race that lasts under 40 seconds, That gap is enormous. Great Britain took silver, matching the European U20 record in the process. Jamaica claimed bronze, giving Card a second medal of the championships to go with his 100-meter silver. For Taylor personally, that relay gold completed something no American man had ever accomplished at this level. 3 events, 3 gold medals, 1 world record, sitting on top of an individual sweep. He became the first American to complete the full sprint triple at a World U20 Championships, and he did it in front of a home crowd that had been building toward this moment all week. His 3 teammates deserve real credit here too. Hamilton, Mitchell, and Brown ran the opening legs that put Taylor in position to close the race out. A relay world record only happens when 4 runners execute at the same level on the same day, and every handoff between them was as clean as the last. It's also worth pointing out just how unforgiving relay racing actually is. A blazing individual time from every runner on a team means nothing if a single handoff goes wrong. Batons get dropped, exchange zones get missed, and world-class squads have watched medals slip away over a fumble that lasts less than half a second. Team USA didn't just run fast individual splits that day. They executed 4 clean transitions under championship pressure with a world record on the line and got every single one of them right. Now let's rewind, because this run didn't come out of nowhere, and the backstory is exactly why none of this was luck or a hot week. Back in July at the Prefontaine Classic, Taylor got a call nobody expects to get. Gout, the Australian sprint sensation, pulled out of the 200 with a back injury just before the race. Taylor stepped in as the late replacement. He lined up against Letsail Tobogo, the reigning Olympic 200-meter champion, in a field built entirely for grown professionals, not a teenager fresh out of high school. Nobody expected Taylor to do anything more than survive the race and pick up experience against real competition. He won it outright, running 19.75 seconds and beating an Olympic gold medalist on the very same track he'd returned to weeks later. That single race put his name on every scout's radar months before the World U20 Championships even began. And it meant he walked into Eugene already carrying real expectations, not just raw, untested potential. That backstory matters because it shows the 200-meter championship record wasn't a fluke or a surprise breakout. Taylor had already run faster than that time against senior professionals earlier in the season. The U20 field simply hadn't seen what he was truly capable of until championship week arrived. It's worth remembering how this whole season opened for him too. Back in January, running his first ever indoor 300 meters, he blew past the existing record at a meet in Virginia. A few months later, in April, he chased down a long-standing high school 200-meter record that had belonged to Olympic gold medalist Noah Lyles. By the time he reached Eugene in August, Taylor had already spent the entire year setting records and beating names far more experienced than himself. The championship sweep wasn't a sudden jump. It was the finish line of a season that had been building toward exactly this moment. Team USA's entire squad matched Taylor's dominance across the full week of competition. The team finished with 24 total medals, breaking the all-time championship medal record that the Soviet Union had held since 1988. They also came within a single gold medal of their own best-ever mark, set back in 2004. A record that stood for nearly 4 decades, through generations of sprinters, hurdlers, and throwers from one of the most stacked athletics programs in history, fell in the same week Taylor put together his individual sweep. That's not a coincidence so much as a sign of where the depth of this sport is heading. Through every medal ceremony, Taylor kept crediting something bigger than himself for the results. After his 200-meter win, he told reporters that all glory belonged to God, and that he had brought him there. He spoke about trusting his preparation through the season and letting the work show up exactly when it mattered most. That kind of composure from an 18-year-old, carrying that much pressure across 4 straight days of competition, is genuinely rare to see. So what happens next for Taylor? He's set to run for Texas Tech starting this fall, stepping into college competition with a world record already on his resume. Comparisons to the sport's biggest names have already started circulating, and fans are openly wondering if this is the beginning of the next great American sprinting story. History does offer a reason for caution here. Plenty of U20 champions before him never carried that same success forward into the senior professional ranks. But Taylor already beat a reigning Olympic champion months before this meet even started. And that is not a typical path for someone his age. What makes this weekend so rare isn't just the total medal count. It's the range across two completely different events, backed up by a full season that proved it wasn't luck. Sprinters who specialize in the 100 tend to stay in the 100. The ones built for the 200s curve rarely have the raw start speed to win the shorter race too. Taylor's championship suggests he might not have to choose, and that alone is going to shape how coaches at Texas Tech build his program from day one. If this kind of breakdown is what you come here for, hit like, subscribe, and drop a comment below with who you think shows up next on this list. We're tracking every one of these stories as they happen.